Back is Reparenting Tuesdays. This is where we do the best we can with their parents, who are our grandparents or great grandparents, based on culture. Or these are the people who own empty mansions. Unasikia mtu ako na 50 houses. I own 50 houses around the world, and I live in all of them. So unakuta around the world, and I live in all of them. So unakuta, this is someone who has not been to their house in 20 years, but their house has housekeepers and is polished every day, but they never even go to that house. If you read, there's a book called Empty Mansions. I can't remember the author. It gives you an insight into the real world and how people are out there. Now, in most of your relationships, because on Tuesday we take all that anger for Mass Tuesday and we direct it at the things that we are angry about, you'll find that most of you are getting what you call breadcrumbs, emotional breadcrumbs in your relationships. So your relationships, you are stuck with people who are putting little effort in your relationships. So you're in a relationship with someone, either you are bringing up a child, a family, na vitu kama hizo, but your spouse is putting in little effort. It's like they are not interested in meeting your needs, because you all have needs in that relationships. Okay? And a lot of my experience, so another disclaimer that I should give you is that I have wisdom because I am self-taught. A lot of the things that I tell you come from learning from you. When you come consulting with me, I observe and I learn as an example. As I'm listening to you, I can pick what you can call the patterns as I compare them with the patterns on how I grew up. Okay? So a lot of your relationships are addictive. Most of you are addicted in non-functional, abusive relationships. Okay? You are addicted to abusive relationships. People come to me and I tell them, okay, now, despite everything, it looks like you have to leave that relationship. That relationship is going to kill you. So this person is physically abusing you, physical. Amekuvunja mkono, amekunyonga karibu akuue. Umewekwa braces kwa shingo, and you're still staying in that relationship. Some of them will tell you, no Jenga, I'm an orphan all my life, so this boyfriend, I'm like, yes, but he's going to kill you. So the reason most of you are addicted to these relationships is not because you want to, it's because we are a society that has been brought up on what you can call emotional breadcrumbs. All our lives, we have survived with the bare minimum. Our fathers gave our mothers the bare minimum. Our mothers gave their fathers the bare minimum. So we are a society that is coming up based on what you can call a bare minimum. We have nothing to show for it. We have nothing to give. We give bare minimum. It's like when you have a car stuck in the mud, we have nothing to give. We give bare minimum. It's like when you have a car stuck in the mud, kujeni tusukume gari. Wananga mtu akisukuma gari, but hataka kusukuma gari kama ameshika side mirror. So you know this guy is not even pushing the car. He's just holding onto the car, pretending to push the car. Now, any person, so this is how you identify a person who's giving you what you can call bare minimum in a relationship. So if you're in a relationship, and in that relationship, the person that you are with, they ignore or dismiss your needs. So if you're in a relationship whereby your partner is ignoring or dismissing your needs like they are not important, okay? It shows that you are receiving bare minimum, or what you are calling emotional breadcrumbs. Where unapata ile motutu ya mkate. Them, they eat the big cake or the bread and you get the bare minimum. If you're in a relationship with a partner and they shut down your conversations, every time you want to have a conversation, they shut you down. You are receiving the bare minimum. You are receiving emotional breadcrumbs. If you're in a relationship and whatever relationship you're having with this other person, place or thing, they make little or no effort to keep the connection. So you are the only one who's always cooking the best meals for the man. As the man, you are the man who's always buying flowers for your wife. You are the man who's always doing the most for your spouse. Okay? But these people, they are what you can call emotionally unavailable and distant. So they'd rather chat other people. They'd rather be distant. You're in the same house, but they are distant from you. So they have found an emotional outlet. They are confiding in other people out there. So that's a sign that you are receiving a bare minimum. You are receiving what you can call emotional breadcrumbs in that relationship. When your partner calls you clingy or needy, when you have an issue, you want something, they tell you you are needy. I want to go to the salon. I know unashinanga salon. No, you are getting bare minimum. You are getting what you can call emotional breadcrumbs. That is someone who does not want to reason with you. Na kuambia, okay, I have no issue with you going to the salon. However, maybe have a conversation and say, can you go at another point, maybe? Okay, can you, maybe I don't have the money today, maybe can you go? But now they sulk. Okay, they sulk. Let me give you an example. I like using myself as an example. Right now, my girlfriend is in the salon. Okay? I would have loved right now to pay for her hair and nails and other things. But for some other reason, I can't do that. Okay? But if I can recognize that, and if they sulk at me, because they don't have to say it, but they know they should, if they sulk at me, that shows that instead of having a conversation, they have been on the same train of thought of receiving a bare minimum. And this bare minimum may not have been money. It could have been someone who was not available for them when they were growing up. So this comes to what you call avoidant patterns. So you are avoiding. You know you should be having a conversation, but you avoid the conversation. Okay? And this can be very confusing. When you want to have a conversation with someone, but there's that avoidant pattern. This can be very confusing because in our natural states, we want to be lone wolves. So even when you have a partner, you find that you want to be a lone wolf in that relationship. But this is coming from an avoidant pattern. So you're in a relationship with someone, but you still feel like you're alone in the relationship because there are some things you can't share. That is what I'm calling an avoidant pattern. You saw it in your mothers, avoiding conflicts in the house. You saw it in your father, avoiding responsibilities in the house. So now as a grown-up, you have that avoidant pattern, whereby if you're not feeling comfortable, you avoid that person. You pretend you are busy. Then maybe later you pretend that you are not busy, that you could have been available. But you know deep down inside, you are scared of something. Okay? Because you are scared of creating what you call an understanding relationship. Building an awareness around that relationship. You don't have that awareness of building a relationship whereby you don't have those avoidant issues. Because all your life, you have been in an emotionally unavailable people. Like we said, for example, when you are brought up in a family that is very abusive, so this can go both ways. This can be your father or your mother. Where these people are emotionally unavailable, you can get addicted to that thing. If you experience that pattern in childhood, your father avoided issues. He was never home. He came on the weekends. He beat you up, you and the mother and everyone. He never apologized. He avoided issues. He would buy you sodas to shut you down. Okay? So we get to a situation where we feel like we have to work to be loved. That it is hard work to be loved because we tried our best to love our fathers, to love our mothers, and it was still abuse. So even in the relationship you have today, you feel like you need to work harder to be accepted. You feel like you need to work harder to not continue receiving those what we are calling emotional breadcrumbs. Okay? And our body knows the pattern because we grew up like this with our fathers and mothers. So the body knows the impulse, how to switch on the right switch, the right knobs. And those right knobs look like, can you try harder? So the reason I'm saying this is because you will find, for example, a girl who's been abused by a man, they don't want to move on. Even when they have an alternative monkey branching with the ladies and how they do this thing, but you'll find that they are not disappointed, but they want to try harder. Even if that relationship was chaotic and abusive, they want to try harder to be accepted and go back to that relationship. Because it's harder to connect that this is coming from either an abuse from the mother or from the father or when they were growing up. So you believe it is your fault that that man left you. You believe it is your fault that that man made another woman pregnant. You believe that you had something to do with it in one way, shape, or another. You start thinking, if only I could be better. If only I could start taking care of myself better. If only I could stop being a toy boy more. Maybe finally that guy is going to show up back in my life in a better way. Maybe we need the drifting apart. Maybe ataenda pia ya hill kidogo na mimi hill kidogo. Then we come back together. So you are trying to make them finally find it. But deep down, it just boils down to one thing. You are used to what you call emotional breadcrumbs. You are used to receiving the bare minimum all the time. Now, how your partners treat you in any relationship, whether it's your spouse, your male or your female, has got nothing to do with you. This is based on their own childhood conditioning. When this man is treating you like a motherfucker, understand that it has got nothing to do with you. It is all boils down to childhood conditioning and the relationship that they had with themselves. No amount, and I repeat this, no amount of work or trying can get them to treat you differently. If someone treated you differently, no amount of work or trying can get them to do anything. You cannot change anyone. They have to start, you have to see them working on themselves for them to change. If you don't see them working on themselves to change in whichever way, shape or form, if they are still in the bar, they are still watching football, they are still hanging in the same way, they are still sending you the message. If they are not putting any effort, you cannot change them. The only person you can give a chance is someone who's putting effort in changing themselves. That one you can say, okay, they are working on themselves, I'm going to work on myself. Sabika. That's a big lady driving. Big car with a big lady. Big as in fat. Big lady. Shout out to her. Big ladies. We like them all. So, even if you're unhappy with the thrill of the chase, you keep coming back to the small traumas. You keep coming back to the small connection that you had with this person. And when those stress hormones of rejection are released, since you feel the same pattern, because that is how you grew up with your father and mother. So your father used to shame you. Wewe hata ukisoma huwezi kuwa daktari kama fulani. Your mama shamed you. No one especially your parents, because your parents have got a big role in how you grow up. So you like to be shamed. So since your mother used to shame you and your father, and now you have a new boyfriend who keeps shaming you, or you are ugly, or you are fat, you're like this, you go back to that same pattern. You love being shamed by these people. It's addictive to be shamed because all your life you have survived on emotional breadcrumbs. So there's familiarity because there's something that you learn from your mother and your father and your uncles and your aunties. So when you meet someone in life who's shaming you, who's giving you bare minimum, you feel comfortable because your body has examples there. Your body has no examples of new stuff. Your body has no examples of you working and becoming a better version of yourself. You never saw your father trying to stop his drinking habits. You never saw your father trying to apologize to your mother. You never saw your mother trying to apologize to your father. You never saw your mother trying to stop being a whore to your father. So you don't have examples on working to become better on yourself. So your body is addicted to the highs and lows. And you interpret that highs and low in your relationship as passion. Unasema, but Karen na Samido, yu pendo yao yuko juu. No, those are called highs and lows. They are addicted to their highs, wakiwa kwa boda, and their lows, wakipigana kwa club. Okay? But what is really happening is that their nervous system is in what you can call a flight or fight mode. Either they are in a flight mode, kutoroka, Samido ametoka stage, Karen Nyamo will be on a fight mode, and it's because they are addicted to those highs and lows. All of them are used to emotional breadcrumbs. Okay, I don't even like talking about people, but we are learning, and it's also good to use examples that people can relate with. I made a video about Samido and Karen on their soul ties. Okay? They don't have to go and pay so much money as a senator for a counselor. They can come to me and they can tell them how to handle their relationship. There's a saying that says that we teach people to treat us, or we teach people how to treat us. That is a saying. Okay? So in reality, we are taught how to be treated as children. We don't teach people how to treat us. In reality, we were taught by our parents how to be treated as children. We were shown what to accept in our lives. Okay? You can accept abuse from a boyfriend. You can accept abuse from a girlfriend. You can accept abuse from authority figures because your father was that weak. Okay? So this makes us accept, or this gives us a sense that we can accept very little. So we are accepting the bare minimum in our relationship. So until we learn how to grieve and unlearn these traits and habits that are deep inside us, we will always be stuck in these cycles of giving birth to generational trauma, or what you can call generational curses, because we don't know how to regulate. So, how can you become the love that you are looking for, that you are seeking? Before we end, we can leave you with a tip and say this. Look at the, what do we call them? The patterns. Look at the patterns on how your relationship was molded by observing your parents. Very few people have parents who never were mature, emotionally mature to raise them in a regulated way. Most of you have come from broken homes. So look at the patterns of your fathers and mothers. Now, look at whether you are repeating the same in your relationship, whether you have someone or you don't have someone. Okay? And when you compare and understand that the abuse and everything that you're accepting around you is coming from what your parents taught you to accept, based on what you saw them accept from your fathers and mothers and sisters and aunties and uncles. Because if you don't see the patterns and break the patterns, you are going to repeat the patterns because your children are observing you do the same thing to your partners, to your spouses, to your sisters and brothers. And we can keep coming back, reincarnating to this shithole that we call earth or hell. But we can also make this a beautiful place where we come and experience the 3D in a less chaotic, more lighter as in weight, less dense way, where we have less tears of pain, but we have more peers of joy. Does that make sense? Shout out to everyone in the space, each one teach one. So today we have a 5-part series on Reparenting Tuesday. So this was part 2. So again, I'm going to end this one and I'm going to start another one immediately after this one. So this is a 5-part series on reparenting, because you have been missing on reparenting ourselves or becoming better in our relationships. So this is part 2. So now we are going to go into part 3. So I'm ending this and I start another one. The reason I'm ending it is because I want to step out of the car and take a piss. I need to piss because I've been drinking some tamarind juice. I've taken almost a liter and I need to go pee. So ending this one and start another one. Shout out to everyone in the space.